Hello everyone, my name is Anna and I love trying vintage recipes. So today I'm making pizza beans, a recipe from 1975. And this recipe comes to us from Crockery Cookery. Now I just made another video with another recipe from this book, Sloppy Jane sandwiches. So if you haven't watched that video, please do. I will link it in the description down below. Pizza beans came up during my last video. I had a couple of people who wanted me to make them. I really wanted to try them too, so I was happy to oblige. This recipe breaks down into a lot more steps than I anticipated. Honestly, I'm questioning Mabel's methods here because I have made beans in the slow cooker and it doesn't take nearly as long as she says it does. So pizza beans right here. First, I had to soak these beans overnight, which I did. And that's not something I normally do when I make beans in the slow cooker. But I did want to show a comparison. So these are the soaked beans and these are the dried beans. You can see how much they expand compared to the dried ones. To soak the beans, I just put these in a bowl and I covered them with about 2 inches of water and I just let them go for about 10 hours. You should soak your beans anywhere from 4 hours to like 12 hours. So the first step in this recipe is to cover these once again with water and cook them on high for 2 hours. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I have about 3 cups of water here. We'll see if that's enough. Yeah. I'm using my small slow cooker once again because I am cutting this recipe in half, but I will have the full recipe in the description down below. I got my little short cord here, so I have to plug it in over here. Put that on high, and I will be back to check on this in 2 hours. It's been a little over 2 hours, so it's time for next steps on these beans. Drain saving liquid. I happen to have this measuring cup with a strainer that like fits perfectly on top. Whoa. That was suctioning itself to the counter, which is what happens when you have something that is very hot. You put it face down. And I'm supposed to reserve some of this cooking liquid to put back in the pot. Ugh. Nice. Okay, that is full of beans. Couldn't resist. But you can see they're getting larger. They're like even paler than they kind of were before. They're losing those speckles that are on dry beans. How much of this cooking? I only need a cup of this, so I'm gonna get rid of a little bit of this cooking liquid. I'm fully aware this water does not look good. It does not look appetizing. Combine beans with tomatoes, onions, green pepper, all of the next ingredients. I was supposed to chop up a fresh tomato, 2 fresh tomatoes, and put them in here. Y'all, I could not find a halfway decent tomato. They all looked very pale and just, it is not tomato season. So I opted for diced canned tomatoes that I have drained. There's some like black flecks in these, because these are fire roasted tomatoes. So that will add, a little bit of flavor, but I just wasn't very confident in the tomatoes that I was seeing. Some diced onion here and some diced green pepper, clove of garlic that I'll be crushing into this. All of the delicious pizza flavors, and a teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna add this now, but I will taste them again later just in case I need to add a little extra seasoning. And then a little bit of oregano and some rosemary that I'm just gonna crush between my fingers. Oh, it does smell like pizza after I added all that. It smells really good. And now I add the remainder of my bean liquid. Sounds great. My bean liquid. Here's where I really start to disagree with Mabel. I've already soaked these beans overnight. I have cooked them on high for over 2 hours already. Mabel would like me to cook these for an additional 8 to 10 hours on low. And I feel like that is so much. I've made pinto beans and black beans in the slow cooker before without soaking them, and I just add extra cook time, so maybe the cook time is 8 hours total. So I'm gonna keep a sharp eye on these. I just am not fully convinced that they actually need that long to cook, but maybe I'm wrong. We will find out. This is like an all-day affair, these beans. So back in the slow cooker they go. And I will be turning this heat down to low. I think I'm gonna check these in like 3 or 4 hours and see just where we're at. So there are our pizza beans. They are definitely a little bit more soupy than I thought they would be. And I did, just full disclosure, I tasted one bean because I had to make sure that they were of the right texture, that they were done. And I think that this recipe needs just a little bit more salt. So I'm gonna add some garlic salt, so it'll give it even a little bit more flavor. So maybe like another teaspoon, I think. I'm also supposed to add, the original recipe said to add some Romano cheese and some mozzarella cheese and then to let it melt for 15 or 20 minutes in the crock. I don't want to do that. If I were going to serve this whole thing all at once to a group of people, maybe, but because this is going to be something that I'm going to eat over the course of a few days, I think I'm just going to top each individual serving with some cheese. So just a little, I'll even get some bean juice in there. Do I have a fork? Okay, so the cheese makes it really delicious. The extra garlic salt really boosted the flavor, like even more than I thought it would. It's almost like a soup though, like a pizza bean soup. I think if you drain the liquid away, of course, you could probably just eat this as beans. Something you could do if you really wanted to, although I don't know that you would because it would take a long time, and these already take a long time. You could transfer the beans into a baking dish and then melt the cheese on top that way in the oven. But again, I don't know if you actually want to do that or not. Just a little bit more about the cook time on these. To recap, I soaked these for about 10 hours, so overnight. I cooked them on high for 2 hours, added all the rest of my ingredients and some of the bean liquid back in, and then the instructions said to cook them for 8 to 10 hours on low. I did not have 8 to 10 hours. Actually, I just didn't want to wait 8 to 10 hours for these to cook. So I ended up switching it to high and they cooked just fine. They're totally delicious. The beans are soft. The onions and the peppers are well cooked. So I think you can safely do that and save yourself a little bit of time. So I started making these beans, if you don't count soaking them overnight, at about 10 a.m. and it is about 4:30 right now. So that's a little bit more manageable than the 12 hours that Mabel says you should do it. Okay, the cheese pull is a little bit insane on these. That is so much better than I thought it would be. I did use fire roasted tomatoes, so that's probably helping a little bit with the flavor as well. But I really enjoy these. Definitely different than like your typical baked beans or refried beans. Why are they so good? I have no idea. Anyway, I would recommend these, but they do take a little bit of time. So plan accordingly. I hope you tried this recipe from the 1970s. If you do, I would love to hear about it, so please leave me a comment. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I post videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes every week. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.